Hi, I'm Chris Conner with Franchise Marketing Systems, and I'm here today with a great friend at this point and someone that I've worked with in the franchise business for a long time now. Josh Wise, the president, founder of Grassroots Turf Care franchise. And Josh, first of all, thank you for taking some time to sit down and talk about the whole franchise process and what you've been through here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time as well. Looking forward to discussing it with you. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome, awesome. So, would you mind starting from the very beginning? When Grassroots started, where it started? Tell the story from like day one up until when we got into the franchise business.
Sure. So Grassroots started, similar to a lot of people when they start their own business. I just saw a need in the industry that I was working for a larger company at the time and decided that I could do things better. And I felt like customers were nothing more than a number at the brand I was with. And I wanted to really set out to provide a level of service and really build that trust with our customers. So in 2002 is when I first formed the company and started servicing homeowners, mostly residential here in the Acworth, Georgia area. And then we slowly continued to grow, branch the business out throughout the Atlanta market. So it was several years into it till we got into the idea of franchising model around 2018 is when we started looking into that. And in 2019 opened up our first franchise unit.
That's when you and I bumped into each other, and I guess franchising is not something that every business owner thinks about right off the bat. Where did this come from? Like, when did you start thinking about this as a growth strategy, and why did you start looking at it?
Well, the idea behind the franchising was really I wanted to grow the brand more in a regional and eventually into a national brand. And I felt like, customers really loved the brand that we had. I was getting really positive reviews. I felt like we really had a lot of systems in place, which is really important when you're looking at franchising a company. You've got to have the systems in place to be able to do that. And we've got a model that's really like rinse and repeat, and it's very easy to plug into our systems. We have superior training to onboard new franchisees. And I didn't want to just build locations. I wanted to build owners and have several locations that I could help other people achieve the same success I've been able to do for my family. And, have a little piece in it with it being the Grassroots brand. It's kind of my baby, and I'm helping just expand it throughout the Southeast. And now we're starting to look at the Northern market as well.
Man, I've said this to so many people in our work together and in talking with franchise brokers and different people. I feel like you have such a great system in place. I've never spoken with someone who's gone through Grassroots who hasn't been happy, who has not been impressed with the depth, the quality, and the amount of care and concern you put into them. Um, could you talk a little bit about what that process was like transitioning over from you've got company owned, you have your own employees, to now you're working with franchisees? What could you walk through the steps of what that looked like for Grassroots?
Yeah, so I mean, well, first of all, I mean, you guys made it pretty easy for us when we partnered up with FMS and started working on getting all the policies, procedures, the ops manuals. Had I not had y'all alongside to help get that, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, and having you and your team, and then having some of the connections that you were able to connect us with on the legal side and just on the marketing and advertising side, really made it a lot easier than I would imagine it would have been if I was out trying to do this thing on my own from YouTube University, the school that we all go to periodically. So, the biggest thing for me on the franchising was when we first went into it, we were at a couple of the shows that you connected us up with. I think one show we ended up getting 7 deals out of, which I remember you telling me, like, this is unheard of, Josh. You usually are happy with one, and you guys just killed it. It was the Atlanta show. And being that it's our home base, it just happened that we met a lot of right individual, right-minded entrepreneurs that wanted to come on with the brand in our home space. So it was real quick out the gate, very well successful. And then we kind of pumped the brakes the last couple of years to build the foundation. I've seen time and time again where brands get into franchising and they start to grow and expand too much, or they're on the East Coast and they're opening up on the West Coast, and you just can't support like that. You got to start small, start in your area, and slowly expand as you build your team out. And so one of the things that I've learned over the years of doing this is really making sure that you always have the horse in front of the cart, not the cart in front of the horse. You hear it all the time. We've done a lot of things on our end to build out a marketing team, to build out our support team for the franchise coaching system that we have in place. And it's really made it where it's been very successful for us to have franchisees that validate the brand very well because they get the support that they need. They can reach me at any time. They can reach the team at any time. I was on the phone with one just the other day on Sunday afternoon, just talking through a few things for marketing and advertising as we're coming into peak season. And it's like they're friends. It's like my brothers and my sisters. It's really not a business owner that it's a business transaction. It's fellow entrepreneurs that we're all just one big family moving this thing forward, and I get their insights on things, and we continue to build the brand out. So it's been really, really cool doing it.
I've definitely gotten that sense from the all the different times I've interacted with franchisees, man, is that you really do treat everybody like family. There's an awesome dynamic, way more than just a business relationship, and that's such a great thing to have as part of the culture. One of the things that's kind of surprised me, and I think maybe anyone who hasn't been in franchising, is the how broad the backgrounds are of the different types of franchisees. So, who would you say, after having been through this now with 20 some franchise partners, um, what would be the characteristics that you look for and the type of person, type of background when you say, like, this is the best, most ideal candidate for a franchisee? Who is that?
A lot of people would think that the first thing I would say is that you got to have lawn care experience, right? And that's not really the case because I'd rather train you on the right habits and teach you how to do this business than have to break bad habits you may have learned from working for somebody else and you have bad culture, bad things going on. I have found that just having a passion to be outdoors, someone that really enjoys seeing the fruits of their labor in this space, particularly when you're out servicing customers' lawns. A lot of times, our customers are coming to us with a lot of concerns, a lot of issues on their property. And over a span of 6 months to a year, the transition that you see and just the satisfaction that your customer has is like, to me, that's like a win. And those stories that I hear from the franchise owners where they're talking about how every year, Josh, my business just continues to build off itself. You've got reoccurring residual revenue. This business is a year-round service that homeowners, as soon as they stop it, within a couple of months, they have needs because their weeds are popping back up, diseases are showing back up. So hearing that story time and time again from every franchise owner of how it's just that reoccurring revenue, it constantly just builds on itself has been really big. When I'm looking at potential franchisees, I want somebody who's coachable. I like somebody that's competitive. I want them to want to win. I want them to challenge some of the other franchisees. And we also like people that come into the system and they're not afraid to voice their opinions on things and suggest ways that we could improve the brand. I've got a lot of the answers, but I know that there's always going to be new ways of doing things with AI and just different technologies coming that, we want somebody that's going to plug in, but also say, hey guys, I'm here to help everybody. It's not about me, me, me. It's always about we. Um, the culture fits really big, and that's where the validation calls when potential franchisees are calling on our existing owners. It's just as important. They want to talk to these potential guys to make sure they're the right fit for us, that they're going to really fit in with the culture that we've created and the grassroots family. You'll hear a lot of guys talk about it's more than just a business, it's a family. Um, I don't want anybody that's looking for the short come seekers, the shortcut guys that are out there. So for us, it's more or less you've got to embrace accountability. You got to be able to play the long game and know how to follow systems very well and plug yourself in and then just rinse and repeat what we tell you to do, and you'll be very successful with it.
I've definitely seen the just the way you described that candidate in the five, six, seven different franchisees I've worked with. They've exhibited those characteristics and traits and come from different industries too, which has been cool that you've been able
Yeah.
to transition them into the lawn care space. Um, One of the questions that comes up a lot when a business owner is looking at franchising and trying to figure this whole model out is when and how do you build a team to support the growth? And what I normally recommend is a lot of the stuff when you first start, you should be doing yourself as an entrepreneur because the more involvement you have, the more you can tweak and adjust things, which I feel like you've definitely done. You're still heavily involved, but you've also built up a team now. Um, could you walk through that progression? Like, when did you start putting people in place to be on the franchise side and focus on the franchise side? What those roles look like, what those responsibilities look like, and how you've built the current grassroots franchise team?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I mean, when we first started, I was the guy with all the hats on the franchise side, and I was still running the corporate location. So, not only did I have a business myself to focus on and run, but I also had this franchise business I was trying to get up and off the ground. And I was doing all the preliminary calls on every lead that was coming in and plugging into the different lead sources. And you talk to several potential candidates to weed through them and figure out which ones are going to be right for you and which ones you're right for. It's got to be a mutual benefit. And if I feel like somebody's not right, stop the headaches at the door. Don't just bring somebody in because you're trying to get to number 20 by the end of the year. You got to make sure that you bring the right franchisees in. So I was doing everything myself. Then I worked on hiring my admin support team. Uh, Basically, our inside sales office and our customer service team that I had for my local corporate location. We built out both of those teams to also handle the sales and customer service for our franchise locations. So we run that customer service center for every location that we have, which is builds consistency for the brand, but it also alleviates all those headaches that most owners are dealing with when you're out in the field trying to do your work, but yet you've got calls coming in, you're missing those leads. Homeowners nowadays, if they call you and you don't answer the phone, they're calling the guy down the street that does, and you're losing that business. So it was really important to me to make sure that we were capturing all of those leads and capturing that new growth for the franchisees early on. But once we had that kind of infrastructure taken care of, we built out our franchise development team. I've got a gentleman on my team now that handles all the leads that come in, and he's doing all the franchise development. We also have you guys with FMS that's doing that on y'all's end with marketing and advertising for us and helping generate lead flow as well as qualifying the right individuals because you guys know exactly what we're looking for. You've met with our Z's, you know everything about the brand. So it's a really good relationship there. We've also added in a marketing team in-house. Kelly runs that side of it. We've got brand standards. Everybody knows where they can go if they need to go put together a marketing piece. We don't require you to have us pre-approve things in the market as long as you've gone through the brand standards guide and you use what is in there. If you're doing anything that's not, then we've got to see it first to pre-approve it. Field coaching is another one. I've got a gentleman on my team that is all he does day in and day out is the franchise field coach. And he writes the programs for all the locations. He oversees all of the ordering and the processing of what's going on in the field, the equipment the guys are using. So we really have a good handle on basically the pulse of everybody's business. And 9 times out of 10, I know something is an issue before the owner even knows it is. And I'm calling my franchisee saying, hey, I just got off the phone with customer service. Here's a situation that's come up. Here's what we need to do to get ahead of it. Um, and that's really how I try to run everything. Like when I when I'm hiring ahead of growth instead of behind it, that's how everything's going to accelerate and move at the pace that we want it to without any kind of major headaches coming up. So it's huge for me. Um, and then lastly, I've hired a branch manager, which isn't on the franchise side of the company, but it is on the corporate location, which now he runs the Acworth location and sees the day-to-day operations. So I can focus my time on the franchise, being available for the franchisees, and really just doing what I love, which is travel with my family and stay in touch with everybody and make sure that we're all having a good time and building wealth together. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's an awesome infrastructure, and I really I feel like you have built grassroots team and the structure and the whole model to where usually a franchise would have a couple hundred locations. You have built this already at 20 some locations. It's such an advantage for anyone coming into this brand as a franchisee and for the overall system to be able to grow and scale and really push growth from this point forward. I've been so impressed with it. What would you say is the vision for grassroots here on out? I mean, where do you see this going?
Yeah, really looking at building a nationally respected lawn care franchise, one that's system driven. We've got the technologies, that we're ahead of the curve with a lot of things in the industry. I know everybody's trying to figure out where AI fits in with the bots answering calls and all these different things. And 6 months from now, it's everything we see today is going to be obsolete. It's just moving so fast. But one of the things with technology that we did several years ago was the body cams. And that's something that when I'm talking to potential franchisees and I start explaining to them about the body cameras, it's a really cool feature because one of the questions I get asked all the time is, well, how are you any different than, the lawn care companies that are in my area right now? How do we separate ourselves? We're one of the only companies out there that's got the body cameras on our guys recording every application. So Chris, as you as a consumer too, you have your lawn treated by a company in your area, and then they come out and they service the lawn, and you don't know if the back gate was left open by them or your kid taking the trash can down to the street, and you don't know if the backyard was even treated that day. So we use a lot of things in technology to kind of separate us in the industry, but also make sure that we're providing peace of mind to our homeowners and protecting our franchisees because it's their investment. We want to make sure that we're behind them 100% of the way. Uh, we want to be the most trusted lawn care franchise in America, not because we're the biggest, but just because we're the damn best. Period. Plain and simple.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Well, man, this was perfect, and definitely was everything I was hoping that this whole interview and session would be. It was exactly what I was hoping for. So appreciate that, and maybe if you would just let everyone know how they could find out more about Grassroots franchise and where to find out more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to grassrootsturffranchise.com is our franchise website. Our consumer website is grassrootsturf.com. And you can also give me a call directly. My cell phone number, 770-912-1125. I'm always available to talk to anyone about franchising, share business practices. I always feel like you can always learn from one another. And so, I try to plug myself in everywhere I can. So I appreciate your time today, Chris, and I enjoy doing this with you.
Thank you very much, Josh.